So on today's interview, we have an incoming internal medicine PGY1 resident, Dr. Dipsa. Welcome, Dr. Dipsa, on board to this interview. Project IMG, we're really happy to have you here with us today, and we really celebrate with you. And let me also congratulate you once again on matching on your internal medicine residency. So congratulations.
Thank you, and I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah. Okay. So before we start, can you just introduce yourself briefly and tell us the school you graduated from, your timeline so far regarding the entire process, and so that the IMGs can kind of like have a better understanding about the person that you are and how your journey has been.
Sure. So I was born and raised in India, and I also completed my medical school training here in India in my hometown, Surat. I did my medical school from Municipal Government Medical College, SMIMER, Surat. And since the third year of my medical school, I started to pursue USMLE to get a residency in US. And I was always sure on, the specialty that I wanted to pursue internal medicine. Yeah. And so when I started my medical school, and in the third year, when I decided to pursue USMLE, I thought that it would be nice to, participate and volunteer as much as I can to build up my CV. Yeah. So I started working from the beginning. During my med school, I tried participating in any research that I could, be it not related to internal medicine. So I participated in research projects related to radiology, psychiatry, pediatrics, just to get some exposure about different specialties, and also to learn something about research in general, so that later on I can perform various research study in the specialty of my choice, which is internal medicine.
Yes.
So after my medical school, in the final year, I applied for my elective rotations. And unfortunately, I couldn't secure many elective rotations because I believe that I applied a little later. I applied like 6 to 8 months prior, but I still got 3 elective rotations. So after completing my 4th year, during the 5th year of my med school, I went to US for pursuing my elective rotations. So another thing is that I had to extend my medical school training for doing my elective rotations. And my medical school approved that extension. So what I did was that during that extension, to avoid any gaps, I participated in research and worked as a research volunteer in one of the departments of my med school.
Okay.
To also just get some experience, avoid gaps, and at the same time I also finished my step 1. So I took my step 1 in October 2019, and later on I went to US to pursue the elective rotations. So I did 3 elective rotations, one in Ohio, another one in North Carolina, and the third one was in Miami. And I think it gave me a chance to see different parts of US and how the clinical practices performed in those different places, and also it got me a chance to work in different types of hospital. Like I worked in community hospitals, I also rotated in university hospital, and I also had a chance to shadow a few private practitioners in North Carolina. So I think it just gave me a very good exposure to all the part of healthcare system as a beginner. And then later on, I also took my step 2 CS in February 2020. And after that, I came back to India to complete my medical school training. So fortunately, I finished all my elective rotations before the COVID pandemic started.
That's nice.
Right. And then during 2020, when there was a lockdown happening and even the private practices here in India were closed initially, only the government hospitals were working on the COVID patients. So during that time, I utilized it and took step 2 CK. And the minute I got my diploma here, graduated from my medical school, I started working as a medical officer for a few months. Later on, I got a rotation in Michigan in in the end of 2020. So I visited US during that. I think that experience was really different because it was still during the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
And I worked in Heart and Vascular Institute as an extern for almost 4 months as an extern. And we were also consulting telemedicine. So I had a chance to, see the patients through video calling and audio calling. And that was a different experience because I never had that exposure during my med school in India or even in US. So I think the time that I had in Michigan, I had like almost 3 to 4 months to work in the same practice. So I got a chance to build great rapport with all my attendings, and I got really strong letter of recommendations. After that, I came back to India in March 2021.
Okay.
Yes. And since then, I was preparing for step 3, and I was waiting for the travel restrictions to open up so I could visit US and take step 3. Then I took my step 3 exam in the beginning of August 2021. And after that, I had a few months before the application, deadline was there for the ERAS. So I did 3 rotations in Larkin Community Hospital. They were all sub-internships, so they were hands-on experience.
Okay.
One was in the ICU, another was in internal medicine, and the third one was in cardiology. So the ICU rotation was something that was really helpful and impactful in my application, because a lot of applicants do have outpatient experience and inpatient experience, but they do not have ICU experience. Yeah. So I think that stood out in my application. Apart from that, working during the second wave of COVID and the Delta wave in Florida, I got a good exposure of, working in COVID in US. And I could even, mention that part in my personal statement to reflect, what kind of things I have done so far. And I think that really helped me as well, because when they see that, you have contributed some way in the, current pandemic, they really like it. So I think that also favored me in my application. I think September was quite intense because I was doing the sub-I and almost working for 72 hours a week. And then I had to also prepare for my applications, write my CV, personal statement. So it got a little intense, but I think it all turned out well in the end.
Yeah.
And then the whole interview season, I was just trying to, read more information about the programs, try to reach out to them, send letter of intent or interest. And also I was working on a few research projects with Larkin that I came across during my rotations. So that's roughly my timeline so far.
Right, that's amazing. That's a lot done, like within that space of time. So also, how many programs did you apply into? And with these programs, preliminary programs or categorical programs, and what criteria did you use to select them, since you are an IMG, a visa requiring IMG? So of course you would have chosen like a number of programs to apply to as an IMG, and what did you have to do them based on preliminary or categorical program selection? And then did you also select them based on the fact that I'm a visa requiring IMG? Was that a huge criteria in that selection?
Right. So I am a non-US IMG and I do need visa. So I had to apply quite broadly, as broadly as possible. So I almost applied to more than 200 programs. They were all internal medicine categorical. I did not apply in prelim because I think that it really gets difficult to, renew your J1 visa or H1B after the first year, like the prelim year. So that's something that I knew from my friends. So I decided to only apply for categorical. And usually prelim internal medicine is something that people who, want to pursue dermatology or radiology, they apply to. Yeah. So I only apply to categorical internal medicine programs.
Okay.
And about the criteria that I picked, I think I did not have very strict criteria on where I wanted to go. Okay. I believe that I wanted to apply as broadly as I can. And I feel like in the end, you go where you are meant to go. It's more on a philosophical level, but it's all meant to be, and then I applied quite broadly, but I definitely selected programs which were, quite well-rounded on, the training experience that they provide. If they encourage the residents to participate in research, or if they are, having a good work-life balance, what is their fellowship match rate? So it totally depends on your future goals when you are, selecting your programs that you want to apply to. If you are someone who are, quite laid back and you just want a good work-life balance, then you can check at the program schedules, like how is the residency schedule, how are the residents, do they get along well, are they friendly, how is the ancillary staff. Those things matter. And then if you are someone who want to pursue a fellowship, then you have to definitely check the fellowship match rate, and where do their residents go for fellowship. Do they match in community hospitals in fellowship, or good university hospitals? Like, based on your professional goals, I think you choose the programs that you want to apply. But I think in the end, most programs are, since they are ACGME accredited, they are going to have similar standards. It's just going to be a little different in, those programs, like some programs. Okay. It's not going to be a major difference.
Okay, thank you so much. And also, is it compulsory, is it necessary for you to be ECFMG certified during the match period? And for your ERAS application, what timeline did you follow for your ERAS application? When did you put in the application? Because I know you said that you extended your medical school graduation date, so you could be able to fix in some rotations and do some other extensions and all that. So what was your ERAS timeline application after that? And is it compulsory or necessary for you to be ECFMG certified during the match period?
So it's not compulsory. You can apply without even being ECFMG certified. Even the American medical students, they apply for residency just with their step 1 score, or with their step 1 or step 2 scores. I just believe that as IMGs, if our profile is complete and if we are ECFMG certified, then it's just more reassuring for the program to, from program's perspective. So it's better to be ECFMG certified. However, if you have taken your test, suppose you took your step 2 CK in August and you took your OET exam in September or maybe August end in the same month, and you're waiting for your results, and then you can definitely apply for the residency application before the deadline, which was 29 September last year. I believe that applying, before the ERAS opens, like on 29 September, is the most helpful thing, because a lot of applications are reviewed and filtered out in the beginning. And if you apply late, then your chances of getting noticed will decrease.
Will decrease, definitely.
Yes. So I was saying that try to apply before the ERAS opens, and you can still apply late if you want to. But according to my experience so far, I believe that applying early always helps.
Okay.
And ECFMG certification is not a requirement, but for IMGs, I suggest that if you're ECFMG certified and if you're done with your step 3, it's definitely going to help you gain more interviews.
Okay. So what was your ERAS application timeline like? When did you start your ERAS application, and how was that timeline for you?
So I started quite early. I would say as you're doing your rotations, as I started doing my elective rotations, I made a log of all the things that I did during my rotation. So, when it comes the time to ask the attending for a letter of recommendation, I can tell that, hey, doctor, I did this during my rotation. So then, then he could actually mention those things in the letter, and the letter can be more personalized. So the earliest that you can start is the better. Apart from that, the personal statement is something that many people have a hard time with, because we are doctors, we are not, writers, and not everyone is good at creative writing. I know that. So I think starting early with the personal statement writing also helps, because, it gives you time to reflect on your life experiences, on, your ambitions, your aspirations.
Definitely.
And to understand yourself more, and in order to, reflect and, write better about who you are. Because it's like a story that they're going to read and picture who you are So you
Yes.
definitely need to, try your best to write it well and make it more personal, make it more authentic, and tell a good story that they would like to read.
Definitely.
And apart from that, CV is something like all those writing stuff like CV, personal statement, even for the LOR drafts, sometimes your attending tells you to write a draft and submit it to him and he will sign it. So for those things, you need multiple revisions. So starting early is good. I would suggest that you can start asking for your letter of recommendations since June when you buy the RAS token for the season, because it will need you to follow. You might need to follow up with your attending a few times and remind them to upload it. Right. So I think starting in like mid-June or late June to ask for the letter of recommendation is good. And for the CV and the personal statement, I think the earlier, the better. There is no particular timeline that I followed. One thing that I really think that helped me during this whole process was asking for help. It's a lot of things to do and we always are, on a time crunch. So it's always good to have a good support system and people who can review your personal statement or who can review your CV or even the Grammarly subscription or some free grammar like softwares that can help you proofread things. So I think those are the little things that make a big difference in your application. If you do everything in September, you are going to be rushing yourself and then you might not give your best in writing it. So start early, ask for help. I even showed my personal statement to some of my friends who were not in medicine, who were, engineer or who were in finance, just to, get an idea of how a non-medical person would,
a fresh perspective.
Exactly, right. And you might feel a lot of blocks in between, the writing, and it's totally fine. So you have to be patient with yourself and it's going to take a few months. I would say at least a couple of months to do all those things. So keep your July, August and September ready because they're going to be intense.
They're going to be intense. All right. Thank you so much. Then also, I know you mentioned that you have done a couple of research from the beginning of, I think, from your third year in medical school moving forward. Could you also tell us how important research is when it comes to matching into a residency? And I know you mentioned you did a couple of research in radiology and some other fields that were not necessarily in the field that you did. So could you also tell us what other research work that you were able to do and how important was like those research papers and those publications, how important were they when it came to the match process?
I think it helped me immensely. And I think that research is I believe that research is the past, present, and future of medicine. And it has always been important and it will be really important in the coming cycles because now step one being pass or fail, the program directors or even just the interview committee, they are going to look at your work experience, your research experience more than your scores. Of course, step 2 CK is still there and the score will count as well. But to have a competitive application, you must participate in some sort of research. And I suggest that all the medical students who are, who are already clear that they want to pursue USMLE should start and participate in any sort of research. Just maybe be a research volunteer. You cannot just be the first author from the day one, right? It's a very long journey and the learning curve is quite steep in research. So gain little experiences and, baby steps. And I would say the easiest for med students would be to write a case report. Since we are quite used to presenting cases in our morning rounds, it is quite similar to that. So whenever you come across any interesting case or any rare case during your rotations or elective rotations anywhere, you can, just Google and read more about the case. And if you think that it's really rare and if it is not published in many journals yet, you can definitely give it a shot. There have been so many videos about how to write a case report, even on YouTube. So I believe that since we have the social media and YouTube, we have more information available nowadays to participate. There are so many courses run by different agencies to even, get you some exposure about the basics of research and the methodology. But I would say that case report is something that is really easy. And for someone who doesn't want to invest into, the paid research like programs, the best way to do is just read the articles. If you want to perform a cross-sectional study. So I started my research from a cross-sectional study. Okay. So what I did was I first went on PubMed and I read a few cross-sectional studies just to get an idea of what it exactly is, right? And then you can definitely, take help from your attending, your residents, and your like statistician in the college, or anyone who might be knowledgeable in this field. So I believe that it's a steep learning curve in the beginning, but it's definitely doable. Case reports are the easiest, and they are easy to publish as well. Apart from that, you can also participate in review articles where you review a few articles related to a subject. And then you write about it in brief about whatever you have condensed. So it is also something that medical students can do. Then there are advanced level of research like meta-analysis, systematic reviews. Those are a little difficult, but if you get some experience in the easy projects like cross-sectional studies, case reports, observational studies, then eventually you can
it'll be easier to handle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So try with the small projects first. Maybe just be a volunteer, observe, and gain some experience.
Yeah.
And just try and ask your resident if you can help them with a research project. And you don't have to, ask them to be an author first because you don't have an experience. It's a learning experience for you. So don't think that you are going to be the first author or the second author in your first study. It's a learning process, and in every research project there is a team, so you will learn a lot about the team dynamics. You will also learn how to share the responsibilities. You will learn how to delegate tasks based on your strength. If I am someone who is good at writing, then I will tell my friend who is good in statistics or analysis to do the data analysis part, and I will probably write the manuscript, like the final report of the results. So, when you are working with multiple people, multiple seniors on different projects, you will try and understand and you will learn more about your strengths. And then you can definitely contribute in a better way to your team. And that way, you will learn, you will gain experience, as well as you will also, eventually learn to conduct your own independent research.
All right. Thank you so much. And then also, I know that we often get to think about this a lot and ask these questions that, is there any difference between the weight or the importance of a publication that is done in the US compared to the one done in your home country? Because of course you can have research published in your home country, and then you have the ones that are done in the US. Which ones are more important when it comes to this residency matching? Are they the same thing? Does one have a higher importance than the others? And then did you have how many home publications, so your home country from India publications did you have, and how many US publications were you also able to have from your research experience?
So I think every experience counts, be it in your home country or in the US. Right. So just start with something. If you are not getting any opportunities in US, I think the best way to go is to gain some experience in your home country first. And then apply in US for better research position. And once you have some basic exposure or basic experience of research, or like the data collection or data compilation analysis, then you will be able to prove yourself better for those positions. So don't wait for a research position to pop up on your screen for you. You have to start, and I think home country experiences count as well. In several of my interviews, they also asked me from the research that I did in my home country, and the same is with my friends who did research in their home countries. They were asked about it in their interviews. So I think no experience is less important than the other. further. But definitely US experience will help you in the sense that you will be able to make more connections. You will be able to connect with the US attendings who might know someone and who might just write you a letter of recommendation, or who might, write an email to your top choice of program that, hey, this person has been working under me, and he's really great or she's really great, and just like a recommendation through email, or call them and recommend you. So those are the perks of having research experience in US. And definitely a lot of times they are not aware of the system in our country. Like for example, the system in India, they don't know how the research publications work.
Yeah.
So they know how it works in US. And if you have publication in well-reputed journals, for example, so I had one publication in Chest, which is the American Chest Physician Journal, which is a well-known journal. So now they know that, no, this person's experience is authentic, because this journal wouldn't accept something, which is subpar or like below average. So in that manner or sense, US research experience is greater than Indian, like, or your home country research experience. But definitely start with your home country, gain some good experience, and then apply, and you will definitely get a good position in US.
Thank you. So how many publications do you have from your home country, and how many did you have from the US?
Right. Oh, I forgot to answer that. Sorry. So I had 3 peer-reviewed publications from India, and 1 from US.
Okay.
And apart from that, I had 1 poster presentation in the US and 1 oral paper presentation in India.
Oh, that's cool. That's really amazing. Then I know you talked about your US clinical experiences. I know you mentioned the US clinical experiences that you did. Also, what your LORs, how was the process obtaining your LORs? Because I know a lot of people always have that question, how do I go about obtaining? So how was your own process? How did it go for you? And how many LORs were you able to upload?
I mean, ERAS doesn't have a limit to the letter of recommendations that you want to get uploaded. So I received almost 10 letter of recommendations, but I could only use 4 out of them, because 4 is the maximum number of letters you can assign to a program that you are applying to.
Okay.
So definitely letter of recommendations are extremely important part of your application. And you definitely need letters which are more personalized, and which reflects who you are as a student, or as an extern, or as an observer. And it just has to speak about the experiences you have had with that attending. I think that definitely it's a little scary in the beginning as a newcomer in the system to ask for a letter of recommendation. But so far, most people, I would say all the people I've come across in the US, they have been extremely approachable, and they all know the process, and they all know that we need a letter of recommendation for our residency application. So they are very supportive about it. So don't get intimidated. I would say that during the first week of your rotation, you should be on point. You should always be on time. You should always behave well. You should always be friendly, and you should always support your team, irrespective of what week of your rotation it is. But the first week is to build a really good impression, because your first impression is your last impression. And then as you are, proving your consistency and your interest in the field, you can even ask your attending that in the second week, you can ask that I am applying for residency, and it would be great if you could write me a strong letter of recommendation. And if the attending agrees, you can definitely ask them that what are the things can I do to make you write me a strong letter. So I asked this to one of my attendings during the first rotation, and he told me that I would want you to present more, or I would want you to create this PowerPoint presentation for me, or, things like that. He suggested things that I could probably do, which he could add in my letter to make it more stronger and less generic. So that's something that you can ask. Of course, be confident, and, don't be scared. And you can always be very proactive and, present cases on everyday basis. You just don't present one case in the whole rotation and then expect your letter to be very strong. So try to, present as much as you can so that, your attending will notice you more. And you can get even multiple letter of recommendations from the same department if you have a great, like, good rapport with more than one attending. So these are the things, like, so simple things that you can do to get a strong letter of recommendations. And then you can, once you buy the RAS token, you can get back in touch with your attending if your rotation was done, in last year or in the summer. So you can just get back to your attending and let them know the things that you are doing, things that you are up to. And you can also, politely ask that or request that this is the deadline, and it would be great if they could upload the letter of recommendation, before this date.
Okay.
And most of the times you don't get any issue, and people, they know the process because they have been through the same process. So they usually upload on time.
All right, thank you. Then also, we know that the USMLE journey is definitely a marathon. It's very stressful. There are lots of challenges along the way. So what challenges did you face during this process, and how were you able to overcome those challenges?
Right. So as I said that I kind of applied a little later for my elective rotations because I had some personal issues going on in the family. So that's something that I wish I could have done differently, that I could apply a year prior to, my desired date of rotations. I would have been able to secure more rotations. Apart from that, I believe that the biggest setback that I had in my whole journey was my step 1 score. So I have been the straight A student since the beginning of my school time. So when I got a 219, I was quite shocked and, like, devastated, I would say. So, and then, so many people told me that, oh, this is a very low score. This is like even below average. And it's going to be so hard. It's impossible to match in US with this score. It's impossible to match in internal medicine with this score. And I saw that the, national average of step 1 score for people who matched in IM was in their 220s or 230s at that time in 2019 when I got my score. So it was quite devastating. But I just asked myself one question, that do I want to do something else? And I think my inner voice told me that no. So, and I asked myself another question, that it's going to be difficult. So are you up for it? And I was like, yes, I want to do it no matter, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it, and I'm going to prove that no, your score doesn't matter when you are, actually dedicated and when you want something so badly and you're persistent about it. So that's something that I faced. And then in the previous season, in match 2021, I went unmatched. So there was another kind of setback for me because I was ECFMG certified at the time I applied, and I had my step 2 CS, and it was the beginning of COVID, and step 2 CS was cancelled. So many people were telling that candidates with CS will have a higher chance of matching compared to OET, because OET was a new exam back then. And I think I had clinical experience, I had research experience, and I believed I did everything I could to apply on time last year as well. And I was expecting to get more interviews. I had like 3 interviews, and I was so confident that I'm going to match. And I was even like ready to celebrate the match day with my friends in Michigan. And when I got the result, and the email said that, sorry, you haven't matched into any position. That was quite devastating as well. But I knew that I have overcome step 1, and I still had 3 interviews. So there is something definitely good in me as well. Yes. And I haven't come this far to just come this far and quit. So that was the spirit or the motivation that I had. And especially I believe that I have the best and the strongest people around me who have been my support system from forever. So I believe that those people help a lot in making me believe in myself when I was doubting myself at times in this whole process. But I think that USMLE is a very long journey, and it will take you a lot of patience and time and money to pursue this path. But I think the 3 things that you need is believing in yourself. Don't believe in what others have to say about yourself. Being patient, and I think I have more than 3 things, sorry. But you have to be persistent. And you have to, think about what can you do to make things better. How can you go all in? So, so then I decided that I'm going to take step 3 and I'm going to, do more research. I'm going to do more rotations. And I did all those things. And at the end of that, I did not have anything more I could do. And I felt complete that, yes, I did everything that I could. And now whoever wants to interview me, I am, going to be super excited to talk to them. But there is nothing more that I can do on my part to, later on regret that, hey, I could have done this. And then, what if I would have matched? So I think that contentment in my heart that I did everything was something that made me quite confident. And I think through this last 1 year, I just understood how stronger I was than what I think I was. Yeah. A lot of times we think that we can't do this, we cannot get over this result, or this is the end. But we don't know that we are stronger than what we actually think of ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's some setbacks that I had during my journey.
Yeah, well, I love the way that you've overcome the setbacks, and now you are going in for an internal medicine residency, and that is really, really amazing. So before we conclude, just like 2 important things, or would I say 1 important thing? Like, do you have any future prospects at this moment, like after residency? Do you have any future prospects, or like, are you planning to do a fellowship? Are you going to just go straight into research work? Or you just want to be an attending, like all of that? What are your future prospects at this moment?
I definitely want to pursue a fellowship. I think I've always been a fan of learning. And as far as I'm, being a resident or fellow, I'm a student, so I would feel young.
That's good.
So definitely I want to do a fellowship. So far I'm interested in concrete. But I definitely want to keep my options open as well, and experience the residency and all the subspecialty rotations before I decide.
Okay. And then finally, could you have any short message for the IMGs who are listening to this interview now? Is there any short message you would like to them? Because I know you have said a lot of things, and some people might be worried, and some people might be bothered, like, okay, this is a lot, I need to step on my game. But do you have any short message for the IMGs who are listening now?
I mean, I feel like I just preached so much already, so I don't know what else to say. But I say that everything always works out, and what is yours will always find a way to you if you are persistent enough and if you are determined enough to get it. Yeah. So just keep hustling, and meanwhile also have a balance and have a good work-life balance or study-life balance, and don't just get too much involved into your books and step exams. So step out once in a while, socialize, or, just participate in your hobbies, because it's equally important to, do those things to keep your mind detached from all the stress that you have been giving to yourself. Yeah. And I think all these years of your life will be the most memorable ones, the things that you are doing to achieve your dream. So make it, worth remembering, and all the best.
Yeah, thank you. You see, you had a lot more to say. Thank you so much. So it was really, really great to talk to you and to hear from you, Dr. Dipsa. We know that you are busy, you have a lot of paperwork to fill and all that. But so thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much for accepting our invite to this interview. And we wish you nothing more than great success in life. So thank you once again, Dr. Dipsa.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.